Meet the freshmen, Arizona Wildcats edition. There are just two of them. Carter Bryant, a four-star prospect who was just outside the top 20, number 21 overall in the on-3 consensus. Then there was Emmanuel Stephen, top 100 prospect, also four-star, number 93 overall prospect. I'm sitting here like 93 overall, like I'm talking about a video game character, but he's 93 overall, the 93rd overall prospect in the country. Just a two-man class, as I said, for Arizona. We talked about their transfer class and what they have coming back. This is a good group. But these two freshmen have the potential to provide a lot for this team, both this season and potentially next season and beyond as well.
Yeah, I like this group a lot. I think I was a little bit higher on them than the rest of the group. I had them.
You
Oh
were.
wait,
You were. So Arizona checked in at number 18 in our overall rankings, our sleepers consensus. I had them at 19. You had them at 16, which I think was the highest anybody had Arizona. But we're all
I
in that
was
same range.
I was about to say yeah. I had them like 12th. I thought I was even higher than I'm on them than I am, but that's mainly because of my love for Carter Bryant. I think that kid's a stud. I think there's a decent chance he earns a starting role this year. Um,
Oh,
Dude, he's freaking good. He's so versatile. He's big. I mean, do we want to go ahead and
I mean, we're here. So you expect him to take a starting role away from either Jaden Bradley, Caleb Love, or KJ Lewis, or even Anthony Delorso?
I didn't think through that as thoroughly as I should have.
Starting level talent. Starting level talent.
He's gonna be okay. So kind of, I think there's a world in which he gets Del Orso's minutes. Because I, I I like Del Orso. He was an
Mm-hmm.
absolute bucket at Campbell. But going up from the CAA to the Big 12 is quite a large leap. We've seen it not work out for a lot of those types of players who were even 19, 20 point per game scores at the mid or low major level, and it just, I mean, they score 4 points a game once they get to the, I guess, the now power four. Now you are going to have KJ Lewis there, who will easily take up a lot of minutes on the wing. And I'm assuming Trey Townsend's going to get the start at the four.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Carter Bryant should be able to carve out a nice role because he's got a big frame. He's athletic. He's a good defender. He's mobile. He can guard multiple positions. But I also love his passing ability. And I think that's something that you don't really expect when you just see the physical profile.
Mm-hmm.
I just seeing him listed as this like 6'8" swing forward who's known to be a pretty good defender. I'm like, oh, this is Kashad Johnson, but I think he has a little more offensive versatility than him.
My notes has Keyshawn Johnson with some handle in a budding offensive game. Like it's easy to slide him into that role. You wonder how ready freshmen are anytime you come in to expecting to play a big role, particularly with so many proven guys ahead of him. I think that's why he's going to have a hard time cracking the starting lineup. But to me, he's somebody who's going to play about 18 to 20 minutes a night, no matter what, because of the athleticism, because of the defense. You hope the offensive game is going to come along, and I think that could make him a very, very highly decorated player later on in his college
Mm-hmm.
career as that offensive game comes along. But there's too much there. And there's too proven of a role with what we just saw Keisha Johnson do to not think he can slide in the air and be valuable.
I'm absolutely with you. I don't know if you watched his highlights from the top 100 camp that was earlier this summer,
Mm-hmm.
because that was where I watched a little bit of him, like McDonald's All American type stuff and some AAU highlights and everything, but I didn't realize the extent of his ability to handle and play on the perimeter until
Yeah.
seeing what he could do in the camp, do what he did at that camp. Um, I know, yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but there's some one and done potential there as well.
You want to get it, you want to get crazy and slide Trey Townsend to the five and go Jaden Bradley, Caleb Love, KJ Lewis, and Carter Bryant 1 through 4.
That would be a really tough, really, really tough offense to guard. Like they would score a
Right.
ton of points. I don't know how you stay in front of all those guys, but no, I love my dude Krivas as well. I think the big 7 footer is
Yeah.
gonna be well established there.
You sacrifice some rim protection. I think Krivas or Awaka are going to be on the court at all times. If they're
Mm-hmm.
not, it's probably going to be because Emmanuel Stephen steps on the court and has an impact pretty early on. He is your rim protector. His offensive game is still very raw, but he's a 7 foot defensive anchor. He's probably on the bench. He's probably the third man in that big man rotation for
Mm-hmm.
me, but I still think he plays a pretty big impact for this team.
Yeah, I see. I like him long term. I
Oh
will
yeah.
never
Oh
fault.
yeah.
I will never fault a team for rounding out their bench with a dude with that combination of size and athleticism who dunks everything and blocks shots. Like every team could use that. Um, I just think that Krivas is too good. He's one of my favorite breakout candidates in the country, and I love Awaka is like that. Awaka doesn't have the size of Krivas, but he's a physical bruiser.
Mhm.
In between the two of them, that's your 40 minutes at the five. I wouldn't be surprised. I think Krivas had 17 points off the bench against Belmont last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if
Mhm.
Emmanuel Stephen has just a stupid stat line against a mid major in one of their bye games, like we see a 6 or 7 block game because he gets to play
Mhm.
25 minutes or something. But yeah, I don't think it'll be much of a factor in the rotation this year.
I would love to see him get like 5 to 10 minutes per game and just let him basically sprint and be your shot blocking lob catcher in like just take Caleb Love out when he's on the bench. So you throw Emmanuel Stephen and you just tell Jaden Bradley and KJ Lewis go run, and you tell Emmanuel to go run to the rim and clean up anything around the rim. Like I
And
think that could be just so much fun to watch and pretty effective.
not to mention, I mean, people forget Jaden Bradley's low key a special passer.
Yes.
Just because like Boswell, I mean, Love handled the majority of the ball handling duties last year, and you had Boswell there. That like, if you go back and watch Jaden Bradley at IMG or even some of his Alabama highlights, dude can pass the rock, and he's got a huge target coming off the bench if in Steven to cook a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah, I love Jaden Bradley's game. He does so much like for himself and for others. When he has the ball in his hands, good things tend to happen. Um, Part of the issue playing with Pac-12 Player of the Year Caleb Love is that you don't always have the ball in your hands as much as you need to be impactful there. But we're getting a little off topic now as we go fully into Arizona. We talked about Carter Bryant potentially being that one and done.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's a one and done?
I would lean no. Like you said, I think best case scenario, he's the sixth man who's playing 18 to 20 minutes a game. I would say there's a chance if he flashes that playmaking upside, and you could have a team that convinces themselves to take him somewhere in like the 15 to 20 range. That could be enough to get him
Mm-hmm.
to go. I think more realistically, he probably doesn't shoot it well enough to convince a team that he's like a surefire top 20 pick, and won't get the playing time to, sort of stuff the stat sheet in the way that he's capable of. Uh, and with NIL being a factor, he probably comes back a second year, but I would 100% buy him as a first rounder in the 2026 draft.
Shatting all over that sheet, man. Terrible. I think he's a two and done. I don't think he's a
For
one and
sure.
done, but I think he's somebody this time next year we're talking about as like the breakout candidate for next season. I think he's got that kind of potential. He'll have the role. Caleb will be out of eligibility. You can slide him in at three next to Bradley and Lewis. I
That sounded
think
like a
that
little bit of shade at
I
the
don't mean
2024 Pac-12 Player of the Year.
no, I don't mean it that way. I know it's easy to take it that way because it's Caleb Love and there are split opinions on Caleb Love. But I mean from a opportunity standpoint, he's out of eligibility. So now there's an opening at the three. And you can throw Carter Bryant in there. And I think it's pretty easy to see him stepping up in a bigger role. And like I think that's the reason why he's not a one and done is there's not the opportunity. Do you think he has the better college career than Emmanuel Stephen?
Yeah, I do. I think Steven has it- is this contradictory to say that he actually kind of has a low floor? Because on one hand, I'm like, yeah, I love any team spending their 12th, consider I
Yeah.
don't know if he's like somewhere between the 10th and 12th man on this team. I love any team that'll spend their scholarship on this archetype of a player. But there are plenty of guys who have all the physical tools like this and just can't put it all together or figure it out that we sort of never hear from again, which I would say gives as much as I love his defensive upside, as much as I love what he's already shown, at the grassroots level, at the high school level, I think he has a significantly lower floor than Bryant.
So I safe to say you think he's going to be a bigger disappointment because he's not two and done. Like, do you still think he's somebody who's going to have a productive career for Arizona?
I would lean more toward that. I don't think either of these guys are going to be disappointing, but if I had to pick one between the two, I would say Steven.
Yeah, I think Steven's interesting because you mentioned similar guys in the mold. I think his career could go the way of like Isaiah Mobley or N'Faly Dante, minus N'Faly Dante's injuries, hopefully, where he comes in as his rim protector, just kind of big lob catcher, and they develop as their careers go on. And by the end, they are awesome players, right? Or he turns into more of like a Musa Cisse kind of guy who comes in as rim protector and stays that way and regresses in some other aspects too. I
Right,
think
right.
both of those avenues are on the table. I would lean more the positive end because you're in Tommy Lloyd's system. You're at the developed players incredibly well. I think the up tempo system fits his physical profile and is going to make the most of the offensive skills he does have currently. And we just saw Umar Ballo be awesome. And the way Tommy Lloyd brought him along as well offensively. I think it's a good place for him to be. My only question is when is he going to get the opportunity? Hopefully it comes sooner rather than later, but he's probably going to be sticking around for all 4 years if he hangs out in Tucson all 4 years.
I'm with you on that. Won't really honestly debate any parts of that. Yeah. Like the upside, like the archetype, low floor, and it might take some time before he gets his full opportunity.
Last question I'll ask, and this relates to Arizona as a whole, because we have their starting lineup pretty much penciled in. But they need these two, or at least one of these two, I think, to be impactful to kind of round out the bench, right? You have the starters who are good. You have Awaka and Delorso as the transfers that are going to make up some of your bench. That's basically 7 guys. So to get to 8 or 9, you need one or both of these players to be ready to play, make an impact this season. Do you think that like the depth becomes not a concern because of how well these two play? Or are we talking about how Arizona maybe needs some more depth as we get into February?
The cop out answer is like that depends on injury luck because they have 2 scholarships open. They have 11 of them filled right now. I think Carter Bryant for sure has to be ready to play 6-man type minutes for this team
Yeah.
to not have depth issues. Steven, I think you can sort of bring along more slowly just because of Krivas and Owaka. And even, I mean, Henry Vass, I don't even know how to say Henry Vassar. His last name. Remember where's he from? Is he Finnish?
The double A's make me think so.
I'm pretty sure he's finished. I know he was like a big time get 2 years ago. There's a lot of hype around him that hasn't really materialized. But yeah, you even have him as another option if Steven's not ready. But I think a lot in terms of depth, a lot depends on Carter Bryant.
I'm not as concerned. They used an 8-man rotation last year. I think Carter Bryant's that, 8th man, or Delosa is 8th man, or Walker is the 8th man. I feel comfortable with that. I think I'd feel comfortable going to 9 with Steven, but I also don't know how you're juggling that 3-man big rotation with a 9-man deal if you're not playing 2 at the same time. Could be interesting how that works. I think they go 8. I think Carter Bryant's that last piece in there. I don't have concerns about it, but you're relying on the unknown. It remains to be seen. But Arizona has Final Four aspirations, and these freshmen are a big part of that. We're very excited to see what Carter Bryant and Emmanuel Stephen can do.
Car, you know what I love about you?
That I'm handsome?
You're reliable. I can count on you. Honestly, you remind me of Aaron Henry a little bit. Remember when their back was against the wall, nothing was going right, and man just showed up every day. He didn't make excuses. There were no problems. There were just solutions.
Sounds like me.
That's you. And it also reminds me of Duncan Mechanical Solutions, because if you're looking for quality furnace repair, look no further than the heating and air experts that you can trust. Comfort and quality are their standard. They're an HVAC company that serves Northeast Indiana and Southern Michigan, whether it's heating and air conditioning, plumbing, kitchen and bath remodeling, or emergency services when you need them most. Duncan Mechanical Solutions has reliable service that you can count on. Cart, remember when your basement almost exploded?
I remember when my basement almost exploded. I remember when my furnace itself was acting funny. I remember when my AC was acting funny. I wish I had Duncan in my back pocket. I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been anywhere in Northern Indiana or Southern Michigan that hasn't been perfectly cool or perfectly warm, depending on when the day called for. And that's because of Duncan Mechanical Solutions. They are the presenting sponsor for the month of July. Shout out to Duncan Mechanical Solutions. Go to duncanmechanicalsolutions.com to learn more.